Exeter. And for today's guest in the spotlight, we have Scott Ruffner.
Car, so drove up, and then after that I bent over.
Pleasure to have you on Show 1. So, you have been pretty involved in Exeter's arts and music and all that good stuff. So, fill me in a little bit. You're a dad, you're a musician, you're involved with the town,
Yeah,
you're in the real estate biz.
yeah.
Is there anything else I'm missing?
Yeah, I mean, that pretty much covers it. Yep.
Okay.
Do a little bit of real estate with the family business here on Water Street. And the things kind of intertwine. I do real estate. There's a artist loft studio over an old warehouse, Station Studios here in Exeter. So I'm kind of the realtor that helps rent those out to local artists, which is great. And then obviously I run Team and founded Team with some other artists and musicians in town. And I, book music for several venues in the Seacoast and a couple here in town. And I'm a musician and music producer myself and DJ and write and record music. So that, and yep, absolutely a dad. I have two beautiful kids. My daughter Lana is 13 and my son Devin is 6.
Right on.
Yes, sir.
Right on. Okay. So, jack of all trades. Sounds like you got your hands full all the time.
I mean, I'm approaching master of a couple maybe, but yeah, jack of all trades, which I like. It keeps me busy and things don't get boring, and I'm not sitting at one desk in one office. I can kind of bounce around and do my thing and work from home, and so yeah, I enjoy it.
Right on. Right on. So, fill me in a little bit. Like, what's your drive in supporting Exeter's arts?
I mean, initially, when I really got started in Exeter, we founded Team. There really wasn't, candidly, much going on in Exeter arts-wise, and a lot of the Seacoast artists and musicians were growing kind of frustrated with kind of the Portsmouth scene that had become, really kind of corporate. I mean, big nonprofits that were kind of running things with Prescott Park and the Music Hall and 3S Art Space. And, they're great at what they do, but there just wasn't a lot of opportunity for local and regional talent. It was they're really more entertainment companies and sort of import talent from other parts of the country, and people that were right here were having a hard time really getting any exposure or any gigs or any opportunities. And so we decided to start a nonprofit here in Exeter to kind of fill the void, because there really wasn't any of those types of arts and culture based nonprofits. And then also to make it very focused on local and regional talent, so that it was not only Exeter people that could have an opportunity, but some of the greater Seacoast talent could come to Exeter and sort of make Exeter a hub for local and regional talent. And we've kind of accomplished that. I mean, Exeter, and obviously other things have sprouted up, and other studios and other groups, which was part of our mission, was also to help advocate and help other people learn, how you get a permit to do an art show here at the Town Hall Gallery. I joined this arts committee here, 5 or 6 years ago, around this same time, and I didn't even know there was an art gallery up here, and I grew up in the town. So, our mission was kind of to let more people know, how to get involved and how kind of to maneuver the bureaucracy of getting a permit to do something in Swayze Park, or having a concert downstairs in the town hall. So that was kind of the the mission, and now we're kind of, we've kind of done that. Now I think we're kind of in a phase, obviously, with COVID issues. I mean, everything was kind of really up and running and going really well, and had so many people involved and so many partners and other groups. And now, like everybody else, we're sort of trying to get the engine cranked back up to get things going again. But I think we'll get there.
So you've lived in Exeter your whole life?
No, I mean, I moved here. My parents are from Kentucky, from Louisville, Kentucky. I was born in Pennsylvania. Parents moved here when I was about 5 years old. So I grew up here, went to college in the Twin Cities in Minnesota, and lived there for about 8 or 9 years, and then was down in New York for a little bit, Boston for a little bit, and when I left at 18, vowed, I'll never go back to Exeter. I'll never work for the family real estate business. And then, there was a time where it made a lot of sense. And I mean, my passion with music is I'm kind of a production and studio guy. So, what I do, I really could do anywhere. And so it ended up, in the end, being a good choice. So I came back like early 2000. So I've been back for almost about 20 years now.
Nice.
Yep.
Cool. And I mean, you were in New York.
Yeah, for a little bit. Yeah.
All the big studios are there.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
Electric Ladyland and.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. The
Did you ever get an opportunity to go in any of those?
I checked out a few studios. I mean, I more got to do cool stuff when I was in Minnesota and the Twin Cities, just because we were really part of that scene there, and I was in a big funk R&B soul band, and we were like the house band at Prince's nightclub, and so we did a lot of stuff at Paisley Park, Prince's big studios out there. So I was kind of more in the scene there. When I was in New York, it's when I left there, and quickly realized that for what I was looking to do, it just, I was there, had friends, and they were into acting and that kind of thing, and it made sense for them. But for me, I liked making music and recording music and being in the studio, and it's just not conducive when you're living in a 12 by 12 apartment dorm room, So,
yeah.
So I really wasn't immersed much in things there. It was fairly brief, but when I was in Boston, I had a studio there in Chinatown with a music partner where we did a lot of producing and songwriting and working with a lot of other singers and artists, a lot of Berkeley people. So that was fun, and I was more, immersed in that scene for a couple years, but then moved back home and was able to get my own space here with my own studio in my house, and was still able, I still did work in gigs in Boston and Portland and Portsmouth and Manchester, and still very active, but it just allowed me to be more hands-on and have more freedom to do what I wanted when I wanted to do it.
Cool. And so being like a producer and also being behind the scenes here at this scene in Exeter, I mean, like, have you seen it grown, and how has it been something that's been so magnetizing for you to want to have your involvement in it?
I mean, what's been great is, like I mentioned earlier, is that there really wasn't, there were some things here. The gallery was here, and obviously there's some other art groups and SAA, and there was some things going on, but it was just, there was a lot of resources that weren't being used. And so there was so much talk. The other catalyst for starting it was there was so much talk about the IOCA. Mm-hmm. And when the final plan to kind of save the IOCA kind of fizzled out, a group of us were kind of like, hey, like, you really didn't involve any actual artists or musicians or people with experience, performing on stages and producing events. And, that's when we started chiming in and saying, like, we have some great resources here. We've got Swayze Park with a beautiful pavilion with power. We've got a bandstand in the center of town. They're like, who would think that having some bands play on the bandstand would be a logical move? But that really wasn't happening other than the brass band. So we started putting local bands on the bandstand. Obviously the town hall downstairs, it's a beautiful hall with a historic stage. So, just getting the resources kind of sort of acknowledgement and and use was a big thing. And I think that really, what it did is, as soon as we started doing things, then artists and musicians started coming out of the woodwork. I started, people would reach out to me that I maybe already knew from like Portsmouth or doing events that I had no idea lived in Exeter or lived like right around the corner from me. And so once we started doing, these festivals and doing different things, then people started coming out of the woodwork and like, hey, how can I get involved? How can I get involved in an art show or the festival or play at the bandstand? So, I don't know if I'm answering your question. I might be going kind of left or right, but what I'm really proud of is that it just shows that, so many people think you need this big master plan. You need a $300,000 budget. You need a board of directors with people that are at banks and lawyers and all this. And we kind of showed that, the people that are actually making the art and the music, if they just get out there and start doing things, that it sort of snowballs and more people will be inspired to get involved and come out and then also start their own things, in town, knowing that there is some support and some attention and some press coverage and all that.
Right on. Right on. And you can kind of see yourself still being involved with this years from now?
Yeah, I hope so. Although I just said that we showed that you can do it without, sort of the banks and all that, we're now at that point though, too, where that element is important as well, because it's like, we've done this sort of pick ourselves up by our bootstraps phase, but, I also want it to be sustainable, and want it to have some legitimate funding and want, that if I burn out or something happens to me, like it doesn't just fizzle out, that there's some other people around that can sort of take the reins and continue the festivals and continue music and all that, so that, because a lot of times you do see things that are kind of spearheaded by one person or a small group of people, and when they either move on to something else or can't do it anymore, a lot of times it just sort of fizzles out. So I'm certainly invested in keeping things going and whatnot, but definitely always love to connect to new people and also younger people. We're a big champion for getting people in their 20s, involved, because, I left and didn't think there was much for me here, and I came back, was in my early 30s, and kind of felt like, hey, there's not much for me here. And so, I've certainly seen things evolve, not only in Exeter, but, statewide, that there's more of an emphasis on creating opportunities culturally, arts and entertainment, lifestyle-wise, for younger people to keep them here and draw them here as well.
Yeah. And have you also seen, if there's been like a small town vibe, like here with the scene, like people know each other, people help each other out, and there's also a mix between the young and the old?
Yeah, absolutely. Just even in our sort of, the inner core of our team group that is kind of like, really helped with organizing events and putting the events on over the past 5 or 6 years. We've always had people in their 20s, people in their 30s, people in their 40s, and then artists that have been here for, decades, that are in their 60s or even 70s. So certainly, that's another point of emphasis is making it so that there is a little something for everybody and it's inclusive, so that everybody feels like they can, be a featured artist at a festival or at a art gallery show or, any of the events we put on. We definitely want it to be very inclusive.
Nice. And that feedback has just been like, yes, I've enjoyed this, and
yeah,
like you're hearing that from young people too, like
yeah, the feedback from the audience has been, and the participants in the events is mostly very, very positive, and everybody, I think, gets that sense that it's inclusive, and even with the music that we put out there, New Hampshire's known for a lot of folk and a lot of bluegrass, and we feature that because there's great local folk and bluegrass artists and people love it, but we also make a conscious effort to have funk and jazz and some hip hop and rock, and and to do different things. And I think people appreciate that. Obviously there's been some well-documented hiccups with town bureaucracy and all that. Anytime, new people, I think, come and thrust onto the scene and start doing different events and public spaces. I mean, always there's discussion, there's obstruction, there's all of those things. And, but that keeps it interesting and gives it a little, gives it a little edge, It's like the arts aren't supposed to be, all smooth and candy coated, so.
All right. Well, thank you, Scott. I think we're kind of reaching our time. Is there any last words or anything you'd like to share before we go?
I just want to, if people don't know that we are doing the festivals once again this summer in the park. We'll be kicking off the Exeter Arts and Music Fest May 21st in Swayze Park, and we'll be doing live music on the bandstand for First Fridays once again. And we're also working on a new series in Townhouse Common, which a lot of people aren't even really aware of what that is. That's the pocket park across from the police station. And we're working with Parks and Rec, and we're going to do a smaller concert series there on Tuesday nights and feature some local artists and help promote the new municipal parking spaces for mobile food vendors that are there to kind of bring attention to that. So that's kind of a new thing we're launching this summer. So yeah.
All right, Exeter, you heard that. If you would like to be in the spotlight or recommend somebody, you can contact us at extvg@exeternh.gov. Thank you and have a great day.